The trans movement is targeting Christians.
He loved Audrey enough to counsel her, to try to help her. They want to make it against the law to not celebrate. I mean, check out what our president said should be law.
I came down because I heard there was chocolate chip ice cream.
Do you think states should have a right to...
I politely disagree with you, and that means that you should be the victim of violence. This is Jocelyn Berry. This is the spokesperson for the... Now, this is what they aren't going to tell you. Howdy, y'all. I'm Brylan. Now, we're all aware of the horrific tragedy that took place in Nashville just a few days ago at the Christian school. First and foremost, I cannot even imagine, having two young children myself, the loss that these parents must be feeling, the complete emptiness that they must be feeling through this. And, you know, the only way to truly cope with this type of tragedy and loss is through giving it all to Jesus, giving it all into the hands of Jesus to carry that burden. There's no other way we can carry a burden like that. And would you pray with me that these parents would have a genuine peace through this tragedy? Now, the Bible talks about this type of depravity. Romans 1 talks about God's wrath on unrighteousness. People adopting the opposite of the natural order of things. And the Bible tells us what will happen, that we will be given over to a debased mind. And that the evil that we're constantly trying to grasp for in these mindsets that are opposite of the truth of God, you'll see that we'll need to invent evil in order to continually do evil, because our old evil isn't evil enough anymore. So we'll have to continually create evil, and it will turn us into these abominations. Hey, would you mind hitting that subscribe button and being a part of this community with us? I would love to hear from you on a regular basis. And if you wouldn't mind hitting that thumbs up button, you know, when you like this video, YouTube will push it out to more people, and it would really help spread this message. You know, our society is sick, and they're trying to take this sickness and indoctrinate the youngest of us. Turn an entire generation of people not just against God, but against the very natural order of God's creation. And it, honestly, look around. It's working. You see the depravity running rampant in our society. And you know, we're all aware of what this monster did to these children and these adults, 6 total at this school in Nashville. Now, this person, Audrey, she identified as the opposite of her gender. Now, I want you to pay attention to this. Watch the reaction of Biden as he comes out to do his news conference directly after this tragedy in Nashville. This is how he reacts.
My name is Joe Biden. I'm Dr. Joe Biden's husband. And I ate Jenny's ice cream, chocolate chip. I came down because I heard there was chocolate chip ice cream. By the way, I have a whole refrigerator full upstairs.
Now, you see that Biden couldn't care about anything that's going on. 1, because he doesn't even know that he's there himself. But 2, none of this matters to the media, to our government, to the president. None of this matters because it fits their narrative. That violence is acceptable if you don't agree with their depravity. So the reason why you're seeing joking and this being downplayed and the victimizer being the victim is because they had it coming. And so this isn't addressing a tragedy. This is our government celebrating. If you don't celebrate, you don't deserve to live. And, you know, they're targeting Christians and they're targeting conservatives here. And, you know, I think Tucker Carlson said it very well on his show.
The trans movement is targeting Christians, including with violence. Most Christian leaders in this country don't want to admit that. Admitting it might force them to take deeply unfashionable positions. But it is true, and anyone who's paying attention knows that it's true. And so, like most true things at this point, it is officially suppressed. Here, for example, is Joe Biden yelping again about how it's all your fault when these tragedies happen because you've got guns at home. This is from yesterday.
We have to do more to stop gun violence. It's ripping our communities apart, ripping the soul of this nation, ripping at the very soul of the nation. And we have to do more to protect our schools so they aren't turned into prisons. You know, the shooter in this situation reportedly had 2 assault weapons and a pistol, 2 AK-47. So I call on Congress again to pass my assault weapons ban.
Now, I want you to notice Biden's demeanor there. Did you notice any difference? When directly after the massacre, it was just all fun and games, all jokes. Let's talk about ice cream. But when it comes down to talking about legislation on our Second Amendment, well, he's as somber as you can be. Do you get it yet? Do you see the narrative playing out before your very eyes? You know, right on cue, like we've been saying, you can check out my channel. Check out my channel. You'll see dozens and dozens of videos calling out the depravity in our society and showing how disgusting this LGB indoctrination is in our society and how they're coming for children. But right on cue, like I've said on my videos and like many conservative commentators have said, this tragedy is going to be turned into the suspect being the victim because, well, oppression. Now I want you to check out these clips of the media and social media influencers doing exactly what we said was going to be done. Blaming societal oppression and making the victimizer the victim.
The police confirming 6 dead, 3 children, 1 8 years old, 2 9 years old, and 3 adults, including Catherine Kuntz, who is the head of the Covenant School. The police chief also said that the shooter has been identified as 28-year-old female Audrey Hale. Said she's a former student of the school and confirmed that Audrey Hale was identified herself as a transgender person. The state of Tennessee earlier this month passed and the governor signed a bill that banned transgender medical care for minors, as well as a law that prohibited adult entertainment, including male and female impersonators, after a series of drag show controversy.
Aiden Hale, that's the name of the Nashville shooter. This video is about to be very uncomfortable for a lot of us. It's very uncomfortable for me to talk about, but we need to talk about it. Aiden did a very horrendous thing. Period, point blank. We need pew-pew reform in our country. But the way that the media and the police are misgendering and dead-naming Aiden is quite concerning. Because even though they did this horrible thing does not mean that we get to do those things. That's a boundary, and we can hold people accountable without being transphobic, even for some of the most horrendous things. So while you're watching this, also watch for transphobia because it's very clearly coming out.
But I do want to say that expect more of this kind of chaos and destruction when you bring fascism into this country. The more you don't love people, the more you shame people, the more you treat people like they're untouchable in society, what do you expect people to do? Of course, the shadow inside of them is going to be so angry and retaliate in revenge. That's what happens. When you decide to try to control people through legislation, you try to harm people through legislation, it's like the world needs a lot more love, not more hate.
Now keep in mind that what they're saying here is that it was only a matter of time that this was going to happen because of how horrible these people are treated in our society. The twans, the LGB. That you had it coming. What do you expect to happen? They have it so horribly. Can you imagine that? The most treasured, protected group in our society is what? Has it the worst? But just remember that whenever this happens, whenever a tragedy like this happens, an absolute massacre, that, well, you had it coming. Now, this is absolutely disgusting. You see the news, just look up what happened in Nashville, and you're going to see headline after headline after headline saying that this person here is the real victim. We're the ones that caused this to happen. You know, there's no other way around it. It doesn't matter what type of tragedy it is. It's always our fault because we uphold truth. When in reality, this goes down into a whole nother level of mental instability. This mental instability here they're trying to outlaw any help. All the while saying if you do anything to try to help the mental instability here, then you're a bigot. So we have to back off and say, okay, well, just live out your mental unstableness just amongst society. Now, I want you to take note of this as well. This is Jocelyn Berry. This is the spokesperson for the governor of Arizona. And I want you to take a look at this tweet that Jocelyn put out that says exactly what you think it says. It says, us when we see transphobes, with a lady holding 2 guns. This was put out after the tragedy in Nashville, and this is directly a call to an insinuation of violence. This is the left calling for violence against anybody that hasn't embraced the depravity of our society that's running rampant. But you don't see any backlash against Jocelyn, do you? No, of course not, because she's on the team of depravity. Now I want you to take a look at this headline as well. The Nashville monster felt no other effective way to be seen. Now this comes from a group called TRN, the Trans Resistance Network. This is an insane group that is literally saying that there was no other way for Audrey to be seen. She had to do what she had to do in order to be seen, and that's just all there is to it. You shouldn't have made her feel unseen. You should have accepted her hook, line, and sinker. You should have accepted her exactly for who she claimed to be, and that's why this happened, because you didn't accept her depravity. And of course they added, check this out, hate has consequences. These are the type of people that we're dealing with here. This Trans Resistance Network is an extremist group that is calling for violence against anybody that hasn't accepted them in their depravity. And of course, this is still going to happen on April 1st. It says a Trans Day of Vengeance. This is a protest that's taking place, but it's a day of vengeance for, yeah, you guessed it, trans, and for LGB to come out and basically have a day of violence against anybody that doesn't agree with them. But this isn't being called out either. Why? Because this goes right along with the narrative that violence is the answer if it's justified. And to these people, justification for violence means you don't agree with them. You don't, literally, you just have to disagree with them. Even politely. I politely disagree with you. And that means that you should be the victim of violence. We're allowing this to take over the entirety of humanity and control us in every way, and we're not doing anything about it because we want to be nice. We just want to be accepting. Well, acceptance isn't going to work because if you'll remember, Levine, one of the the assistant to the health secretary, who has a say in a lot of what is considered sane healthcare, believe it or not. This man, who is now identifying as not a man, is a part of the higher-ups of our government and telling us what we should think. And so check out what Levine says should be just a part of society.
What I like to say is, in terms of diversity, diversity is so powerful for any organization, and diversity in all of its different aspects, including for sexual and gender minorities. You don't want to have a tolerant environment. Gee, thanks for tolerating me. I really appreciate it. An accepting environment is good, but you really want to work on a welcoming and even a celebratory environment for diversity in all of its aspects.
Yeah, you heard that correctly. It's not about tolerance anymore. Remember when it used to be we just want tolerance. And then it was acceptance. We just want to be accepted. That's all. Well, no, it's not about acceptance anymore. It's about celebration. So now it's not just tolerance or acceptance. It's about celebrating a certain way of life that goes against the very nature of that God created. We have to celebrate. Otherwise, well, they want to make it against the law to not celebrate. I mean, check out what our president said should be law.
Do you think states should have a right to ban gender-affirming health care?
I don't think any state or anybody should have the right to do that. As a moral question and as a legal question. I just think it's wrong.
Yes, you're hearing this right. This isn't just something that they just want to be seen and heard. No, they want you to be unseen. They want you to be shut down. They want you to be unheard. They don't want you to be able to think how you think. They want to annihilate you. If you don't give in, then you need to be annihilated. You need to be the other end of an act of violence. We can't pretend like this is going to go away. This is Matthew chapter 10. Check it out. And you will be hated by all for my name's sake, but the one who endures to the end will be saved. We are going to be hated if we stand on the name of Jesus, if we stand on truth. We're going to be hated. And it says that even family will turn against family because they're holding on to truth. Now, you see that this person, Audrey, actually attended this school that she massacred, and this man right here was actually a counselor to her. This is this man's daughter. Audrey targeted this man's daughter here in order to take vengeance on him. I feel for this father. The school's pastor here, she targeted him. He loved Audrey enough to counsel her, to try to help her, to try to lead her in truth. And she turned around and took his only daughter. But remember, this monster here is the real victim, because she wasn't given any other choice. Now, this is what they aren't going to tell you, is that this goes right along with what they want to happen in our society. They want you and me to be erased, to be deleted. You're out of here. Sayonara. No more life for you. You don't deserve to live. You don't deserve to be a part of society. And you're seeing this ramp up more and more, faster and faster. And if it's not affecting you yet, it's going to affect you. That's why we can't sit back and just remain silent. We can't just pretend this is all going to go away, because it's not. I promise you it won't. Unless we stand up and continue to stand in truth and not give in to this depravity. Stand on the Word of God. Are you willing to do that? Even if it costs you something? Because it's going to cost you something either way. But hey, let me know your thoughts about all this in the comment section below. I would love to hear from you. And if you wouldn't mind hitting that subscribe button and being a part of this community, I would love to hear from you on a regular basis. And also hit that thumbs up button if you wouldn't mind. You know, when you like this video, it'll get pushed out to more people, and it would really help spread this message. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.